In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the FireStore has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit thefirestore.com today. The FireStore, your trusted safety partner.
This podcast is brought to you by Flex 7 from TenCate Protective Fabrics. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology. Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatefabrics.com/Flex 7.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit Magnegrip.com.
All right, I want to welcome everybody in for this month's video cast. I think that's the proper terminology. I probably need to look that up so I say it correctly because it's no longer a podcast. I guess it can be. So, yeah, we want to welcome everybody in. Super excited. It's just going to be me and my co-host this month, and a lot of bouncing back and ideas for this. We have like 10 ideas on the back burner right now that we're going to be doing all into next year. So we're excited about that as well, including some guests and some repeat guests we haven't had on for 5 years. So I'm going to start working on getting those guys all set up for the following year. So as always, we'll just start with introductions. My name's Todd Edwards. I'm not going to tell you how many years in the fire service, and that way I don't give any more ammunition to my little co-host over there. But it's more than 30. Retired from Atlanta Fire Department, and just truly blessed and thankful to have the opportunities I have when it comes to teaching, training, and all those type of things I get to do with both Captain Rowett and with just some unbelievable people throughout the American Fire Service. I'll let you go ahead and tell us about New Jersey again.
Anthony Rowett, captain in Mobile, Alabama, originally from New Jersey, like Todd alluded to there. Like Todd, just blessed with the opportunities I have, both where I get to work and who I get to work with, and as well as traveling and teaching with who I get to do that with.
Awesome. So after some kind of going back and forth, trying to getting prepped to do our recording here, I know this is our last one for 2024, and we're getting ready to get into a new year. So this entire podcast is just basically New Year's resolutions for the fire service and for your fire careers. I know sometimes we'll go down one rabbit hole. We'll talk about very specific things in the fire service. So I thought, what a great way to end the year and start the year off into 2025 with some truly career-based kind of resolutions. And so I started doing a little bit of research the other day, and I was kind of somewhat amazed by some of the things I found, and some of the things I was not shocked by. And I thought one of the first things I found was less than 40% of people who make New Year's resolutions ever accomplish even half of what they set out to do for the year. And I thought it'd be a little bit higher than that, but less than 40% are in that realm. And as I was doing some searches on that, I actually found one website that said less than 19%. So I think, again, I'm guessing more than that. Under 50% is probably a good number to kind of stick with. So I started kind of looking at that, and then I said, well, I was curious about why and why we're really good. I think everybody, and there's nobody who's going to be watching or listening to this, not going to say, yeah, that's me, because all of us have set New Year's resolutions, and we're really gung-ho in January, and we're okay in February, and then by March, and not as much as we were in January and February. And I think a great example of that is on January 2nd, you have to circle the block to find a parking spot at every gym. And by February 2nd, parking spots started opening up, and by March, nobody's there again. So it's kind of falls in that same thing, but I see a lot of guys in the fire service kind of do some of the same things. So we're going to kind of get into some New Year's resolutions. Me and Captain Rowett have kind of jotted down and thought about some things that both that may apply to us. I know some of them apply to me, and some things of kind of talking to people from all over the country the last several years of some of the struggles they have, and then kind of giving you guys some feedback on ways to resolve some of the struggles you may or may not be having in your fire stations or even your own personal lives to a certain degree. So one of the first things, and I'm going to let Captain Rowett jump in here as well. One of the biggest failures when we talk about New Year's resolutions, one of the first failures is that jump right in and try to do it all in one time. And then within days, that New Year's resolution starts going to the wayside because we jump in so fast and we don't really have any plan for that resolution. So first piece of recommendation, you can write this down or hit rewind, whatever you want, is actually think about the resolution, but how you're going to accomplish the resolution, and not just, well, I'm going to be better at forcible entry. Well, how are you going to be better at forcible entry? Are you going to go out and buy a $10,000 forcible entry prop? Do you have one at your firehouse? Is there somebody can show you some things? But actually have a plan for it before you actually make the resolution. Do you want anything you want to add to that one, Anthony, about not just jumping into something?
Yeah, I think you got to just focus on consistency more than necessarily, like you said, have a plan to it, but how to be consistent with it. That's what's going to get you where you're trying to get to, is that consistently doing it. That's how you're going to build up where you're improving every time and you're getting to where you want to be. So, like you said, it's not just about jump into it 100 miles an hour and try to get there today. Have that plan to consistently do it every time you go in the firehouse.
Yeah, well, and I like that. And one of the other things, and again, this isn't just for me. This is just from a lot of research I've been doing on this. And we say we're going, or we'll write it down, but then we throw that piece of paper away. But actually write down what you want to resolve or what you're trying to change about yourself or your career path. And as I really got into this the other day, typically we will set so many goals or objectives or resolutions, and then we start jumping back and forth. Well, I'm gonna work on this today, and then something happens and we don't work on it. Then we do, well, I'll work on this one, then I'll come back to that one. So the key number that from checking out 500 different websites was 3 to 5 things that you can really realistically change, and we'll kind of hit that. And once you have those wrote down in a place that you'll never throw them away, put them in your phone. I thought it was a really, really cool idea about this setting reminders. There's a lot of really neat apps, to-do list apps, and Google Calendar, having actual, set some dates and stuff. I really am going to spend the day working on this skill or on this, whatever it is you decide to do. I mean, we're not going to tell you what to resolve, but you should know yourself well enough to know that. Any other thing about with that, Cap, about writing things down, or how's something that you do when you're setting goals or objectives?
That's exactly what I do. I write it down. I keep a little notebook in my bag that goes to work with me, and it's kind of one of those things. By the end of the day, I've got to have it all crossed off. So whether it's personal or company wide, you knock out the company wide stuff first, and then the personal stuff you make sure you get done.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I'm a notebook guy.
Yeah, I am too. I've got notebooks everywhere in my bag. So
I actually was telling myself one of my this week's objective is to clean up the notebooks, because I got like 3 working. I need to get them down to 1 notebook. And I thought this way. I really found myself kind of got stuck on this one when I was kind of doing some research, Cap, and it makes a lot of sense as I was reading it. Is your New Year's resolutions have to include you as the priority, your personal self as priority. And I think one of the downfalls in the fire service, and one of the downfalls, especially on leadership, for the really good leaders, we get so focused on everybody else. And that includes not just our firefighters or our officers, wherever you're at in rank, but also we get even, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, we even get so wrapped up in our friends and our families that we forget about ourselves. And I thought that was a really, really interesting part of the article I was reading, that you are the priority. Because if I don't make myself the priority, then it's really hard for me to help out, my firefighters or my students, whatever the scenario may be at that given moment. And I know it sounds, as I was first reading, I said, man, that seems like kind of a selfish asshole thing to do, but it really makes a lot more sense when you kind of take that, take a step back and look at it as making yourself a priority, because these are your resolutions. They're not your firefighters' resolutions or your wife's resolutions. They're your personal resolutions to make you a better husband or firefighter or leader, or what it is. And I thought that was a very interesting thing. Do you use SMART goals or SMART objectives when you're writing out goals and objectives using the acronym SMART?
Mm-mm.
So I don't do it very often, but I was kind of jotting down some notes, and I think a lot of guys will know, or as a refresher, SMART is that when you do SMART goals, they got to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and then time sensitive. So, SMART, SMART.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going through this and I was trying to apply it directly to like a resolution or a career change or whatever, I thought probably the biggest one on there, or the couple of the big ones, was specific and attainable. If I'm a firefighter, I can't say my New Year's resolution is to be fire chief. Well, that's not attainable probably as a 1-year firefighter, but it should be something very specific. My goal is to make driver this year. Well, that's a specific goal. And is that attainable? Well, based on your organization, that should be attainable at the same time. But again, I think people feel an obligation that their New Year's resolutions have to be this monster, lofty, I'm going to lose 255 pounds and run a marathon this year. I'm thinking you're not probably going to lose 250 pounds and run a marathon all in 1 year. It probably is not going to work that way. So I thought that was an interesting little thing. So I got some questions. I'm just curious how much if you knew, because I have this in actually one of my leadership classes. And I thought, man, this is a good time to bring these back up. How many people in the world, not the United States, in the world, are on or utilize some form of social media platform?
Shit, all of them.
All of them. Everybody.
Everyone that's old enough. It's going to be, that's a god awfully high number.
It is a god awful high number. 4.76 billion people utilize or on some social media platform in the world. And I thought, well, how much time does that take? So the average time spent on social media every single day is 2.5 hours of our lives. Every single day is on social media. And I thought that number's changed. I thought one of the things, and I meant to do a screenshot of it and I didn't, is I thought a very interesting thing on phones now is your usage and what you're using it. Oops, that didn't work out too well, did it? And you kind of see where you're spending so much time. And I went back and I started tracking this a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, holy shit, I'm guilty of it. You're sitting around bored, all of a sudden you're, sitting at home, start to scroll, and an hour and a half. And, in this case, I thought that was interesting. And then you add that on with actual phone usage, whether using your phone, social media, just people on their phone on average, that's games, talking, emails, work, 4.5 hours. So an 8-hour day, people are on their phones over half their regular days. And again, that should tell all of us how addicted we are to these devices and to technology as a whole. And that kind of led me into some other things as I was going through that. So I'm going to start it. I'm going to let Captain start. So what we're going to do here for everybody listening and watching is he's going to give a New Year's resolution and give a little why to it. And then I'm going to do one and give you a little why and how to it as well. So you get number one, go.
All right. So my first one would be to focus on what you can control. Stop worrying about things outside of my control, your control, because it just becomes frustrating and it becomes something negative when you're trying to do something good. If you focus on things out of your control when it doesn't work out, you're still frustrated it didn't work out. You feel like you're banging your head against the wall, but you were set up to fail the whole time because you had no control over it. And if you focus on what you can control, your company, your firehouse, whatever it is, yourself, you can control that outcome. And as long as you control that outcome and get it where you want it to be, it does in the fire service realm, your fire department worldwide, it does have a good impact. but you can't control department wide. So just get the focus off of that and focus on what is within your control, with what's in my control. And if I can get the outcome I'm looking for within my control, that was a success.
I like that. And guys do. And I think that adds into goals and objectives not being met because we're too busy worried about things outside our four walls or outside our firehouses. And as soon as we go down that path, other things are forgotten. And then, like you said, once we start getting to being just so flustered with something, then what was probably beneficial for the company never gets done. So I love that first one is right out of control, don't get wrapped up in all that other crap. So, and I kind of actually gave this one away right out of the gate. And so I actually wrote it down as unclutter your world. My resolution, and it's a personal one, so most of these are going to be a little bit personal for me, is unclutter my world. And when I say that, as I'm sitting here literally, and I'm clutter drives me nuts, but I'm not, and it's not just, stuff, but I spent maybe 3 hours the other day and I uncluttered my inbox. And, I was like, that's 3 hours out of my life I'm never getting back. But I had to, and I started, so my resolution has already started for me. I'm not waiting until January 1st. Unclutter your inbox, unclutter your social media, unclutter your daily lives. And whenever I get in that mode, and I've done this in the past, and I started uncluttering and dumping things, it's amazing how your mind becomes a lot more open and your time becomes more open simply by uncluttering all the BS that is around. So my New Year's resolution or a recommendation is unclutter all the crap, your social, your home life, your work life, all those things. And that's going to free up an immense amount of time in your brain to do things that are actually hopefully realistic and you can achieve. You're up.
All right. So I'm going to stick with a work related, and it's we say it all the time to get back to the basic stuff, but to have a little bit of time set aside every shift to focus on the little things that are easy to look past, the studying streets, because I've worked in the same firehouse for so many years that you don't necessarily always go back over them because we might make, it might be 100 runs before I catch a street that caught me off guard. Between here and the cross streets and everything. But to set a little bit of time aside every day to look at streets, hydrants, water main maps, building pre-plans, and just focus on those little things that little thing you might remember because you spent an extra 20 minutes each shift might come out and be a big decision, a big game changer one day.
Love it. I absolutely love that one too. My next one is literally for everybody, and a lot of them are going to be more in, maybe Captain Rowett's age bracket, my age bracket. If you are not, and I hear guys say this, and I want to go, well, that's just kind of a cop out. One of my other resolutions is become more tech savvy. And when I say that not because I'm ignorant about how to do certain things, but I guarantee I know probably 3% of what I need to know when it comes to technology advances. And I think that's going to be such an application for firefighters down the road. The Halligan bar is not all of a sudden going to become some kind of robot tool, obviously, but so much of our job is becoming very technology driven. And if you look at the way apparatus are now being designed, how much we do, obviously reporting is getting more tech savvy, everything from, reporting on tablets. And I think it's something that's easy to say because one, the average firefighter doesn't give two craps about the laptop sitting in the fire truck until he's riding in front of the fire truck going, what's this button do? So I think tech savvy is a really easy, not easy, but it's a attainable, realistic goal to set for a New Year's resolution, to find ways to become more tech savvy. So I've kind of actually dedicated a little bit of time each day to learn something new about this. I have a new Mac and I'm still trying to figure out how to change, things to Word and all that kind of stuff. So those are things, and you can enjoy those things and how much they really can apply both at work and your home life. So yeah, I'm going to become more tech savvy, Ro.
There you go. I suck at it too. It's okay.
No. Rowett is overly tech savvy. He likes to put like little circles and 400 colors in his presentation. I don't even know how to do that. I am going to learn the circle thing. I do like the circle thing on your presentation the other day. So, but yeah, I'm not using chartreuse and purple and pinks and all that crap you use in yours. So,
I'm still offended you know the word chartreuse.
What's your next one?
All right, and this is one I mean I struggle with it all the time, and I work on it. Try to always work on it every year, but it's to find that balance between the fire department and family. It's one of them. I mean, you know me well enough, and I have this conversation with our buddy Mickey all the time that we struggle to turn it off. We struggle to turn it off, and you're with your family and you're thinking about this, or active 911 on your phone goes off, and you see the brother's got a fire. You're trying to listen to it on the scanner app. And just trying to find that blend. I mean, it is who I am. I'm not going to be able to turn it off, but to not let it, override where I'm not focusing on my kids when I'm at home and my wife and stuff like that. To find that balance. And it's always a struggle. I mean, it's just who some of us are with this job. It is our life, and it's a battle every year. It's a battle every day. But to try to find that balance, to balance those two things out.
So, how are you going to do that then? And again, I want to try to give guys some hows or some ideas. I'm not saying what works for you is going to work for the other guy.
So what I've noticed, like in the past month or two, that I'm going to try to use this year is Landry, my middle son. He's more, I mean, he's an 8 now, but he's more into what I'm doing and things like that. And he's asking me, are you taking me to school tomorrow, or are you at the firehouse? Are you teaching? Where are you going to be? And including the kids in the conversation as well more, and them knowing what I'm doing or where I'm going and having that conversation. And then one of the things you talked about, like when I'm with the kids, just putting that phone in another room. Yeah. I can get back to you when you call me later. And, when I'm with the three of them is, I don't need to be talking to people on the phone or texting back, or I can get back to that later, but when I'm with them to be 100% there.
I like that. Yeah. And I like that. And that kind of, one of the, and again, it's both suggestion and idea, and some of you are already doing this. Our hope, you're certainly hope, and part of that new resolution, or that that I would strongly suggest, kind of feeds all right off of what Captain Rowett just said about that balance, but not just at home. I'm talking about in life in general as well, and we've all seen it. You go out to dinner and you look over and there's that family of 4. Mom's on the phone, dad's on the phone. Little juniors, beating on a tablet and throwing Cheerios on the floor, and then the 7-year-olds doing dress up on a phone. Taking that technology out of the dinner time, and so we've always done that. And the other thing I suggest is at the firehouse, having actual true family time at the firehouse to talk about something other than fire. And Captain Rowett will admit this, that even when he's with us, and we're all around, and we got families there and wives there, because he's heard my wife get on him, and we've actually almost made a drinking game at a bar one night when Captain Rowett's still talking about the Giacomini standpipe valve at 10 o'clock at night. And she said, every time he says standpipe, we're doing a shot. And I said, no, we can't. We'll be drunk in 20 minutes. So I love turning conversations off even when I'm with firemen sometimes, because all of us have other interests. And Chief Gordon is a really good example of that. He loves talking about other things other than fire. He loves talking about family and his son Rodney, and Steve. If I can get Steve Robertson off of it every now and then by getting him on football. Once I got Steve on football, I got him. He's not going to talk about fire stuff. But it's okay for us to have other conversations. So if you're one of those guys around your firehouse, talk about something other than fire. I mean, I'm all fire at the firehouse, but during the dinner time, phones down, put them on vibrate, sit down, have a meal together as a family in the firehouse, and enjoy that part of it, and talk about, what's going on in your cities other than fire stuff. Talk about the sports teams, talk, whatever, your company's into, but it doesn't have to always be fire, even when we're with firefighters, obviously. So I think I love feeding off of that one, because I actually had that jotted down as well. So back to yours.
All right, we'll go back to the work stuff. is, and it's like kind of what you talked about earlier, but in reverse, is you got to prioritize yourself first when you're to get success at something like you're planning on a goal. But to being a company officer, to have a focus on knowing where everyone under me is trying to get to and helping them get there. And it doesn't have to be a promotion. I got guys that work for me that don't plan on promoting anytime soon. That's a personal choice. They're happy where they're at, the position they're at, but that doesn't mean they don't have a goal to get to better themselves. And it's to know where that's at and to help them get there. Whether it's a skill set, whether it's going back and getting a degree, whatever it is to know where they're at and what they're trying to attain and help them find a way to get there.
Love that. And those are things that you could sit down as far as like when we talk about the New Year's resolution per se, and maybe get them to kind of resolve into, hey, as great as things are today in this firehouse, you better start setting yourself up for down the road too. Because I get it. I mean, I've been in that situation, but fortunately, I had a older, wiser captain that basically said either take tests or I'm going to, transfer you out of my company. So that was a real good motivator there. So those are little things that I think we that can go a long way as far as making changes in ourselves. This is kind of to me, I know it's not as simple as I make it sound sometimes, but a strong resolution I make to anybody who ever will listen to me for 5 minutes: learn how to manage your day and your time. So time management is a big one, and it's one of those most common, so-called resolutions there are. And I agree with that 100%. I really started this resolution last year, and I've gotten not great, but I think I'm way better at my time management now than I was before. Because I always felt like, I'd look at a to-do list with 40 things on there. I'd be like, oh my God, I only got 5 things done. That's all right. I got 5 things done. So now I kind of set my days up, and I did this at the firehouse, that we were very anal about. We're going to work from X amount of time, typically from shift change until lunchtime. After lunchtime, that freed up the rest of the afternoon to do other things, whether it was doing nothing like watching movies, or if it was a day where everybody's going to do something together, working out or whatever. But that time management will play a monster factor in able to do certain things both in your firehouse but at home. So like now I kind of set my average day up at home, whether it's just stupid amount of busy, and I just 3 o'clock because beforehand I'd be sitting here in my office and I'd look up and go, oh, it's 6:30. I haven't even bothered to eat today because I've been so wrapped up in phone calls and text messages and emails, and then I got to call Rowe, then I got to call Steven, and then I got to call this guy, and then I got to do this program, I got to add this slide, I got to find this video, and I would look up and hours would be gone. And I hadn't done anything. For me, it was all about work, or firehouse. So I kind of, I'm not saying what you should do, but have a stop time. No matter what, you could be in the middle of it. It's okay to stop. It's okay to stop, because unless it's life or death, everything on this list will be there tomorrow morning when I start again. And I'm going to get done what I need to get done, or I want to get done. And sometimes there's things on my list that I don't feel like doing, and that's okay. So it's a resolution that I'm carrying into the following, into next year, to keep getting better at just turning it off for the afternoon. Or here's a really cool one I've done: turn off for a whole day. Literally not do any of a to-do list or a project or anything for a full day at the house, and just chill out. And it's okay to do that. And it took me a long time. I still drive her nuts because, I'm out of bed and I'm already pinging, doing stuff, cleaning or something. Guys that have worked with me in Pensacola, especially during logistics, they'll be getting messages from me at 5:30 in the morning, like, God dang, he's already up. But yeah, I think that time management is such a big factor. It's one of the biggest complaints I hear, that new officers tell me they really struggle with their time management. There's things on the fire ground, obviously that's different, but things around the firehouse, reports is probably the only thing that absolutely has to be done in a time sensitive manner. If we don't get around to washing the walls today, I think we're going to be okay. I don't think anybody's going to die because we got busy with other things. Just turn it off. And then your firefighter is going to greatly appreciate you not trying to hammer out a 40-page to-do list every day. But you're, again, kind of going back to the very beginning and what Captain just said, some of your goals and some of your resolutions, yourself is the primary goal in some of these. And I found by having those timelines, it's so much easier on my day. And, do I always stop at 3? No, sometimes I go past 3. But for the most part, both at the firehouse level and my personal level, I have a hard, I'm done time. And I find the true benefit of that is the next day, I'm more motivated. So I'm not just stressing out about, oh my God, I'm going to knock this one out. And I prioritize that list every day of what I know I have to do and how I want to do it. And if it's a bigger one, I work on just that one thing. Because multitasking is a lie and it's a bullshit thing that people say, I'm a great nobody's a great. There's no such thing as a great multitasker. You can Google that. Because if you're multitasking and I'm focused on this and then I'm looking at this, I'm multitasking. What you do every time you look at this and then back to this, I'm taking away from this. So multitasking is bullshit. Nobody's a good multitasker. It's a total lie. And I hope somebody calls me on it and sends me an email and says, I found it. You can. We'll say, I'm just going to throw up the bullshit flag. Nobody's a good multitasker. No such thing. Go.
All right. With that, and I will say with that one that you just talked about, I mean, I heard you talk about it years ago in a class, and we do it the same thing. Like, we know we're going to work till that 1 or 2 o'clock time, and then they got the day to themselves. And the other benefit of it was they all know what's coming. So they work harder during that time because they know once we get to 1 or 2 o'clock, unless the chief calls with something, or there's a night drill we got to go to or something like that, the rest of the day is theirs and they can do what they want. So
right.
It builds into where it has other benefits as well, other than just knocking out your to-do list. Is those guys will work because they know they've become accustomed to it, and they know, like, hey, we're going to work for these couple hours and we're done. Let's just do a good job and get it done. This one's kind of both sided, the fire department and home, but is to invest time outside of the norm. So like doing other things with my kids or helping them find new hobbies and things like that at home, but at work, is to not just always do the comfort zone things. Yeah, like we have the dedicated engines and trucks, just like you guys had in Atlanta. We're an engine. We're going to do engine work 90% of the time, but don't get too heavily focused in that to where we don't develop people in their truck skills, because they are going to work overtime or get detailed or promote or put a transfer in one day. And they've got to be, on that day, they have to be good. They get detailed to the truck today, they've got to be good at it. So it's to not fall into that easy pattern of doing what we're good at and what we're comfortable with, but making sure we're developing where we're going to work 90% of the time and not also using 10% of the time or 20% of the time to focus on those skills we don't use very often, that maybe we aren't very good at. It's out of our comfort zone. We might look stupid in front of each other, but we've got to get better at or prepare people that they're going to be detailed or whatever, and they got to be good at it.
A lot, and there's no hard fast rules in the fire service, and since the majority of the fire service doesn't have dedicated truck companies, I think it's vital that, if you're riding an engine every day, that you know how to throw a ground ladder, that you know how to pull rock, and you know how to force entry. And I think we fall into those traps sometimes on bigger jobs that, well, I ride an engine. Well, that's not a very good excuse. I've heard that excuse given right after a fatality fire. Well, we're an engine company. VES probably would have saved somebody's life one night. So that excuse needs to definitely be off the table. In the fire service, I'm not going to be as good as the dedicated ladder guys at certain skill sets, but good God, I don't consider throwing ground ladders an advanced skill. That should be pretty basic. Force a door should be it's not always basic, but average residential door, that should be a pretty basic. Overcoming one deadbolt lock should not be beating the hell out of somebody.
Well, and some of those skills aren't hard to work on either. Like, we don't have forcible entry doors in our firehouse. We got to go to the academy for it. So it's not something you could just throw at them every day. But every Saturday we wash the ground ladders. So they come out of the rig. It's easy. Instead of just pulling them out and throwing them on the ground, once you wash them, they walk around with it and they put it up against the building to rinse it off and let it dry. It doesn't seem like much, but it was practicing the skill. Just make sure they do it the right way. They're not just throwing it up there with 5 people, but do it in a realistic way. And you just worked into something you already had to do, and it's still working on that skill set. But it's the idea of getting into doing more stuff than just what we do all the time. Maybe just having that once in a while. Our big thing is to walk down and, hey, in case you guys were detailed to truck 4, show me how to set up the airbags.
I like that. Yeah,
we'll lift the grill up once in a while. Hey, get truck 4's roof rope down. Show me how to set it up. Little things like that we try to do it's just a goal to do it a little bit more often, and not focus solely so much on the engine side, because on those days that we have 5 people, we ride 4. Someone's always detailed out. So, they're not always going to be detailed to an engine, and you want them to be successful wherever they're at. So.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really, really good advice for anybody. I don't care how big your job is. You really have to be better than that. This one, I still struggle with. I'm trying to get better and better and better at it. And a really easy resolution. It's easy and difficult, but you can kind of build on this resolution. And that's to actually read something every day. It's job related now. Read something job related every day. There are literally vet who you're reading, though. That's my first piece of advice. Just because somebody wrote a really cool sounding article doesn't mean that's the guy you should be listening to. So vet who you're reading, but then ask questions. Go out and ask other guys that are into the job about what they should be reading that will actually be beneficial to themselves as well as their companies in the fire service. And there are so many incredible books. Now, typically, the number one excuse of why I don't read more is what? Time. First thing, I don't have time. I don't have time. Everybody has time, because I just proved it. If I can spend 2.5 hours each day on TikTok and Insta shit and Facebook and all that crap, I've got time to sit down and in all those feeds, make sure you set your feeds up right. So most of your feeds are fire engineering and fire related topics. And there are just hundreds and hundreds of opportunities to read something every single day. And whether it's a little 15-minute article, a 30-minute article, or actually, and that what you'll see is that will develop you into wanting to know more about a subject matter, whether you're just doing a Google search and reading it online, or you actually go out. I still like the old fashioned, let's have a book that I can actually put my hands on and make notes in. And, I got pages cornered in this one already. But it was one of my recommendations I'm making right now. If you really, really, really want, and this is such an easy read. When I got it, I just jumped into one I hadn't reviewed for a while. And as soon as I read it, I wanted to read more. I actually went and researched because I'd forgotten about some of the fire. And there's a few in here I'd never even heard of. These are all fires that we should know about. They're all involving line of duty deaths. And I went back and really started getting back into these, and have added some information to some of my programs already just off this one book. There are a lot of good books out there. I'm going to give you 3 other ones that I recommend. And I'm going to give you one website I highly recommend outside of fire engineering. So Cornerstones of Leadership by Frank Lieb. Highly recommend that if you're wanting to promote, or if you have been promoting and you're struggling. The Cornerstones of Leadership is one of the best leadership books I've ever read. It's actually on my to-do list later on in the next year to go back and review it again. That's how positive I am when I say that would be a book I would highly recommend. The other one I think is kind of an easy one, given away if you just want something that's that you can take. Again, common sense here. Just because somebody from FDNY wrote it doesn't mean everything has to apply to you. Read it and take what you can apply, and that's the Book of Andy. Everybody should have a copy of that on their desk somewhere they can reference. You can pull drills from it. You can apply certain things on your fire grounds, and all those things will actually apply. And what's really interesting when you read it, you're looking at this going, well, hell, they just now started a whole new study about this same subject matter. This stuff Andy already knew. So I think it's really, I always find it interesting when I read it and go, man, I just heard about this again. And he was talking about this, years ago. And then if you're really struggling, you're trying to find a way to maybe pick up something, is they use Fire Safety Research Institute. You can actually register and get online and take classes through FSRI. The group of people that work with FSRI and work at FSRI are absolutely geniuses that know how to explain the most genius stuff too. So those are my, down and dirty recommendations. You have just a couple off the top of your head, Cap?
Yeah, so my two that I like, and it's because a lot of times what I do to make sure I have like time to read something every day is the school carpool line. I'm going to be sitting there. There's no way around it. Don't spend the whole time on Facebook. And I keep a book in my car, but it's the book of Andy and then Tom Brennan's book with all the back page articles. And the reason I like those two for something like that is even if it's just one a day, it's one article. It's you might have this book in your hand, but you're reading one article and it starts over. It's the next article. It's not like you have a whole chapter to read and you feel like you got stuck in the middle or just get an article read. And then think about the article. Don't just read it and okay, I read something. Don't worry about reading 20 pages. Read that one article and actually figure out and think about what you gain from it, how to apply it, how it applies to you. Like you said, just because it's FDNY guy wrote it doesn't mean it applies to you in the same way, but how does that information apply to you, or how does that skill get performed in your fire department? And now you think about it, like you said, come up with a drill for it, or how do you go back and present it to your crew?
Yeah, and I literally opened my phone and I hit my Facebook feed, and the first three things that pop are fire engineering stuff. So I think that's such an easy way. I wanted to share something with anybody who was thinking about getting this book. I just recommended. I'm trying to, I don't want to misstate here. So at the end of each chapter in here, and they're short chapters, easy reads, they have a page and it's called a remembrance training drill that you can actually do with your companies. It doesn't have to be a big 800 person fire training thing at your training site. But if three of us are sitting around the kitchen table, we can actually take that and learn. And some of it is literally a little bit of research. Some of it is, hey, I don't know if our policy works, whether it's your Mayday policy, your RIT. But again, those are just recommendations. And again, when I know the subject matter here is New Year's resolutions. That would be if you're looking to try to get yourself into reading and doing those type of things, easy book to read. And again, everybody walking around the firehouse has a cell phone, and you can always grab an article. Just go to Fire Engineer magazine, and there's going to be articles, and you can get everything digital for the tech savvy guys. The whole magazine comes to your phone digitally. So there's a lot of really easy ways to start expanding your horizons. And I think I jotted it down when I was sitting in Kyle Romicks's class just the other day, and he was asking some very basic questions on some very famous fires. And when he asked who had heard of this fire and nobody's hand went up, well, I think 2 hands went up in the whole room. That tells me that we are not using our tech savvy devices to research our job. So with all that, to clear all that mud up real quick for you, read something every day. Be into the job when you have to be in the job, obviously, but know the job. No more than, shocking a door and just all the base of no details about our job, like where the Haugen bar came from. I think Captain Rowett was at a class with me. I know Chief Bennett from Spartanburg was with me one time, and I asked how many firefighters were killed on 9/11. And the first guy I asked didn't know. He took a very random guess of, was it 301? And I bit my tongue so I didn't lose my shit with this guy. But there are certain things that are so easy to know and we forget so easily. So be into the job, know more about the job than just your 4 walls of your fire department. All right, we both get one more. You get this one. You get the first. You get one, then I get one more, and then
All right.
we'll close.
So lastly would be just to engage some new people from the fire department world. The whole idea is just bring one more to get outside of the comfort zone of my crew. We focus on ourselves but try to get out and work with other people a little bit more than we do in training. And not necessarily just the companies we always run in with, but have a chance to engage more of the fire department than necessarily I do as it is. It used to be, we joke around. Like, I texted the guys the other day, I was in a gym and I saw someone wearing a fire department shirt and I was like, man, I used to know all 500 guys because we had a bunch of overtime. And now with that, and I don't get detailed much, and if I don't make fires with you, I don't know you. If you're not in District 1 on the second shift, I probably don't know you unless you have time on. And I was like, man, I told the guy that owns the gym used to work for us in our fire department. I was like, man, I've never seen that guy in my life. He was like, I think he's been there a couple of years. I was like, well, I don't know. But that's a problem too. So to get out of that box I live in of just our district on our shift, that not knowing guys, because they're coming up too, and I'm going to be there for a while. They're going to be there for a while, and they're going to promote into positions where we got to be making decisions together. So, or they could just be on a detail to me that day, and I've never met them before. So, getting out, and I think that's important. I mean, we had a guy get detailed to us or he was on an ambulance rotation and doing advanced school. And he came in and was just like, hey, guys, what's going on? He sat down, and I looked at him, and I was kind of like, he looks familiar. I don't know who he is. I looked at the guys. I was like, man, does he work here? And they were like, yeah, he's on our shift at this other engine. And I was like, all right, well, he didn't introduce himself to me. And they were like, hey, man, you need to go introduce yourself to the captain. And this kid, I mean, he's new. He was legitimately upset that day that he made like this bad impression. It was like, man, in my firehouse, that's all they were like okay with. Just walk in and wave your hand and you're good. And we were like, man, down here, if that captain's responsible for you for the day, you go introduce yourself to him.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so. And that's just getting out and engaging with more people to get things back to the way we were used to them and things like that. So I can't expect it for those traditions to carry on if I'm not doing my part to spread it beyond just our firehouse. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you've heard me say it when I have students nod at me when I'm lecturing. I make them use their words.
Use the words.
Don't nod at me. Yeah, so that, if you're not good at communication, there's another resolution. There's a little sidebar resolution for you. So I don't ever say that one resolution is more important than the other. If it's health related, yeah, obviously. But for what we're talking about today, I wouldn't prioritize, oh, you must do this, you must do this, you must do that. But if I was going to say if there was one thing I cannot harp on enough is resolve yourself into coming or going to a conference or a seminar outside your four walls of your organization. I think that a lot there, and I say that, and I can say this very confidently, there's almost no excuse not to go anymore because there's one every weekend, or there's several every single month, and they're regionally driven, so you don't have to worry about getting on a 5-hour airplane ride to California. There's stuff all the time. So if you want to jot this down or rewind, whatever, the Fire Collective on Facebook page, they don't list out every single one, but it's a good jump point to go, oh, I didn't know about this one. I didn't know about this one. I was actually on there today going, oh, I hadn't even heard of this one before. That's a really good jump point. If you're not sure, Fire Nuggets is another one. Fire Nuggets promotes conferences, seminars, podcasts. They do a bunch for the American Fire Service. So there is a way to go to a fire conference sometime in 2026. And I know it's not cheap and it's not always realistic. But not every conference is, $1,400. I think that's another thing we've got to do a better job of is explain to people that these instructors aren't making $1 million a year. Nobody's charging $5,000 an hour to come teach for you. Most of these conferences are, to a degree, can be affordable if you have resolved yourself and you're planning. Hey, I'll give you one I know is cheap, is firemanship in Aurora, Illinois. That is a conference that you can afford easily. And don't take that the wrong way. That should be affordable for most of us. And you get every instructor you see there are pretty much nationally known guys. There's, guys out of Chicago Fire, New York Fire. They're from all over the country. huge event. One of the coolest events I've ever been associated with. So that's one example. It's not till July. So you have time to go, wow. And it's only going to be, I'm not going to tell you the price, because if I tell you all the information, you may not do your own. So get on social media or get on the website and look, firemanship. And I think it's truly one that you should look into going to. And then there's in the southeastern United States, it's incredible how many events there are. County Fire Tactics, go to that website. First Two Tactics, Chief Alan Griffin in Carolina Beach has 2 events now every year. They're absolutely incredible events, and they're small events. And when I say small, there's only going to be like 120 guys, 130 firefighters there. So you can actually interact and do stuff with them. You can actually sit down, have a conversation with a Captain Rowett and learn something that maybe you didn't want to ask him during the class time. You don't get that at every conference that you could go to. So that would be a huge resolution. And I think if you've never been, you will be blown away. We have one coming up. I'm also recommending in February, and it's a combination of several conferences all into one. But that conference in February is at Pensacola Beach, and we're going to have County Fire Tactics Fire School, which is going to be 2.5, maybe 3 full days of hands-on, which will include Robert Ramirez doing his Mayday mindset program. We're going to have officer development stuff going on. We're going to have tactical lectures going on. And that one I will highly recommend in February for anybody who wants to be a part of that. We're going to build this monster, fingers crossed we'll get it all built, ventilation prop. And we're going to have people like, Mike Champa there teaching how to ventilate, how to do searches, how to throw ladders with JJ Cassett out of Orlando, Florida. So the opportunity for this program, for this event, and it's limited to only 48 people. So if you're always worried about reps, that will not be a worry. You will get rep to the point you're like, I've had enough reps. I want to go to my bed now. That was one of the main goals of this program is no matter how many reps you need as a student, you'll have all the time and all the instructors in the world to help you leave that 5 days and be way better at your job or really improve on maybe a skill set you've been struggling with. And this one will offer, if you email me, and I'll give you my email address, I will provide 2 free passes to a conference in Pensacola. 2 free passes to any conference you want to go to outside of Battalion Chief Boot Camp. I mean, I can't do the Battalion Chief Boot Camp freebies, but anything else, whether it's in February or if it's in end of April into early May for that program, or November for Water on the Fire, 2 free passes. Whoever emails me, and to be fair, it'll be the first 2 I get. First 2 emails you get. You have to pay for your travel and your hotel, but hotel in February, I think they're $99 a night.
Yeah, I think it was 99.
Yeah. So again, very affordable training opportunities to see some of the best instructors in the world are going to be right there in Pensacola Beach, and then firemanship in Aurora. Let's see, March Mayhem out west. There are just, you literally, I started to actually make a whole list. And I was, after about a page and a half, I was like, there's too much to write down. So I'm going to try to put something out on my social media platforms this week about upcoming events 2026, dates, and then you guys can do your own research. I'm not going to try to attach links. That's, again, part of my resolution to be more tech savvy. How I can click, copy, and all that stuff. I'm not great at that yet. I'm still learning some of those things. So that's what I'm going to work on. But as my last recommendation, my email address is Todd Edwards 6, the number 6, at yahoo.com. Todd Edwards, the number 6, at yahoo.com. And I will guarantee you 2 free passes, or 1 pass. I'm giving away 2 passes. So that's how it's going to work. Don't email me and say, I need 7 passes. So individual is an individual event. So you can come meet other people too, not drag all your buddies from your firehouse with you. So that was my last New Year's resolution. Go give us something to close out on, to close out all of 2024.
Just focus on consistency. Like I said in the beginning, we can make a million resolutions. If you don't work at them consistently, none of them are going to come true. So with anything we do, we have to, it all comes down to consistency. You want to be good at something, you got to consistently work at it. So focus on consistency, and all of it should fall into place.
Love that. When you, as you're listening or if watching, whatever you guys are doing out there, after it's over, just jot down two. Just jot down two things you want changed to make your career better, to improve your career in the American Fire Service. Whether, hey, I want to be a driver by this time next year, or I want to get promoted, or, I want to, some of the suggestions we made. I want to unclutter my cluttered up ass life. I want to get rid of, I didn't even get to this one. I have my list. I've got to take my clutter list and scale it down myself. Is get rid of the drama in your firehouses and in your lives. It's amazing how much time frees up when you're not dealing with drama queens or all the damn time. Oh, and this guy said this to me and he made me hurt my. Get rid of the drama people out of your life. Get rid of the drama out of your life, and you'll see how much effective you can be on this job too. So that was my best advice for the wrap up for another incredible year. Obviously, lots of challenges, both professionally and personally in all of our lives. Find that balance like Captain Rowett talked about. I think I mentioned it as well. Put these damn things down every now and then. It's okay to disconnect from the fire service and talk about other things with your brothers and enjoy the ride, because you'll be amazed how fast it goes. 1 minute you're a rookie, and the next minute you're like, holy crap, I'm the old guy in the firehouse, like Captain Rowett being the old guy in the firehouse. So.
I think that was you.
That probably was me. You're right. Guys, we appreciate everybody's support, and we're truly looking forward to some really cool things in the next year, and hopefully we'll see you at a conference. Hopefully you'll take my advice and resolve to come to some training outside your organization and see, find out what all the cool things that are actually happening out in the American Fire Service. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2025.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the TheFireStore has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit TheFireStore.com today. The FireStore, your trusted safety partner.
This podcast is brought to you by Flex 7 from TenCate Protective Fabrics. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology. Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit TenCateFabrics.com/Flex 7.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit Magnegrip.com